Today. This is something, a hot topic about what's your opinion on the current changes in the market about buyers advocates coming in and the new land developments that are coming as
Yeah.
well. The timeline it's taking, are you finding lands or construction? Also, something about the builders and
Yeah.
construction.
Yeah.
Tell us a little bit more about the helicopter view, what you're seeing in the market.
Helicopter view, let's start off with land developments. In my opinion, land developments is quite slow.
Okay.
Developers aren't pushing out as quickly as what we thought they were or what they
Okay.
previously were.
Okay.
That could be a few things, could be the current market,
Okay.
that they actually can't sell the lands
Okay.
for the price that they are. What I have noticed is a lot of my clients who potentially can't borrow because the valuations are coming back quite significantly less.
Okay.
So a lot of the clients are $40,000-$50,000 short.
Wow.
And the developers are actually giving them the option to actually come out of the contract or
That's
offer
good.
them a rebate. But then there are
Gotcha.
also some developers saying no because they know they can't sell it for a higher price. So
Gotcha.
it's a kind of a round circle with
Yeah.
developments. What I have roughly seen is that they are taking a lot longer to
Lot longer? Okay.
settle or to finalise a subdivision, whatever
Okay.
it may be. With regards to construction, same call. Construction, it's still the same turnaround
Okay.
time, I think. Like I previously mentioned to you, was a lot of constructions are taking a little bit
Yeah.
longer because of what's happened in the area. For
Okay.
example, the issue we had with Stockland,
Yeah.
where there was a certain stage where they forgot to connect an electrical pit, so
Okay.
that stopped all of the constructions from
Yeah, we were
ongoing.
talking about it
We also
before.
had another one where in Wonthaggi, a bit further out, where they got served a notice on title for an environmental plan,
Gosh, love the
and
area.
that stopped this
Yeah.
subdivision from occurring. So if we're seeing a lot of these issues,
Yeah.
up face on developments, but they are coming around. They are
yeah.
coming around. When we talk about buyers advocates, I love buyers advocates.
Yeah.
I think we've been seeing them come in.
Yes.
They've just been coming in now in this current market.
Yes.
Coming in, and I think it's really good to have. I think the buyers feel a bit more
Exactly.
secure with a buyer's advocate because not only do they know them personally, but they also know
Yes.
what they want in the market.
Yes.
So your buyer's advocate isn't going to approach an agent for a property that's not in their price range, not in what they're liking, what they're
Correct.
wanting. They're going to contact you because the property you're
Exactly.
showing is what they want.
Correct.
And it's on that bandwagon of the price.
Exactly.
The only thing that's left to do is that negotiation. So we
Negotiations,
have
yes.
been seeing those buyer's advocates coming through.
Yes.
And must I say, those buyer's advocates that are coming through, the very well educated buyer's advocates, the deal is a quite smooth transaction.
Correct.
Yeah.
And I think number one thing I see with buyers advocates at the moment is there are very good ones out there. And the ones who are really good, they actually help the purchaser to shorten the time frame.
Yeah.
Because on an average, a purchaser would go in and try to make an offer. They may not understand the dynamics of negotiations. They would come in, and it happens a lot where the purchasers would come in, we're asking circa 1 to 1.1. They'll try to make an offer at 950 to start with, totally off the track. There's definitely no way that the vendor would consider
Yeah.
that. The property ends up selling for, let's say, for example, 1,080,000, 1.1 or 1,050,000. They may feel the hate slowly after missing out on a few properties, and many of the time you see 3 or 4 months after,
Yeah.
the same purchaser would end up settling for something which is not suitable for their family needs, but for them it's all psychological, remember, where they would absolutely condition their own mind and say, you know what, we've been missing out, but they sometimes don't even realize why they're missing out. They also sometimes point the finger at the agent maybe is not working in their best interest. That's the
Yeah.
right that's right judgment, because the agents are generally inclined towards a vendor
Yeah.
to get them the best outcome.
Correct.
At the same time, it's your understanding of the market. I guess smart buyers would actually call the agents as well around and understand how the markets are.
Yeah.
They understand what's going on, what the market's doing, what sort of property is selling
Yeah.
for, days on market,
Yep.
and put in a decent offer. They are the ones who actually then go out of, it's like a vendor. A vendor who prices the property correctly, ends up selling faster, settles, and I've seen many times where a vendor who sells and settles on time, and we see a property which was listed a month or week or 2 days before the same time when we listed ours, and we've settled, and that property is still in the market waiting for a buyer. and sometimes they're catching the market. And it's the same thing with the buyers. They are pretty much missing out. The time they spend on the market, 3 months, they end up buying something wrong. And the same applies to the vendor. The longer you stay in the market, 3 months, you end up selling for less. Not because the property's value changes, it's just the energy level of the vendor changes, and you start getting some low offers. Then you start conditioning your mind and say, that's probably the reality of the market, let's take it.
100% agree with that. I mean, look, in my opinion, if I was a purchaser and I seen the property was up on, on realestate.com for 6 months, I'd be
Yeah.
like, why is it taking 6 months to
To
sell?
sell.
Is there a catch in the property? Meaning, is there an issue with the property?
Correct.
Is it overpriced?
Yes.
Is it because the vendors are just the way it is? They just
Exactly.
want to get a decent price. If I was to see property on sale for 6 months, I wouldn't want to put an offer down
Exactly.
because I'm like, but why?
But why?
And
Yeah.
and some vendors won't disclose certain aspects of it. Like for example,
Yes.
we've come across a few transactions where
Okay.
and I think you would know the answer of this as well. We had a transaction where, unfortunately, a member got murdered in the house, and so when they
Right.
went to put up the property for sale,
Okay.
the agent as well as the conveyancer has the legal right to let the buyers know
Yeah.
that, look, this has happened. Now, there's no jurisdictional law which says in writing that you must disclose that this has
To
happened.
everything, yeah.
But of course, you can understand that it can be a concern for some
Correct.
clients. Some clients may be very, auspicious or very religious, and
Correct.
they may not want to, have
Absolutely.
that bad eye on them or something
Correct.
like that. So we had a transaction where the agent had actually advised me. The vendors never told me that had happened.
Yes.
So we were dealing with a separate. It was the brother of the person that became deceased. It was a very
Yes.
jumbled transaction, and only the agent had told me.
Yeah.
Now I didn't put anything in the contract because at the end of the day, as a conveyancer, you can't put a special condition on just to the buyers
Yeah.
agree that a person's been murdered in the
Absolutely.
house. That also falls on the agent to advise
Correct.
them of that.
But
we've
deal facts.
Exactly, the
Yeah.
deal facts, and the disclosure to the buyers, I think, is also
Correct.
what's really important.
Absolutely.
We've got a transaction where we're selling a property with a spa,
Yeah.
and that spa doesn't work, and you as an agent, if you're going to go around and say, oh, this amazing backyard,
Correct.
and they sign a contract because they love that spa and they want, and then we get to
Absolutely.
final inspection, that doesn't work.
Yes.
That causes an issue at settlement.
Absolutely.
So if the agent is so educated, and of course you can only be educated of what the vendor is telling you.
Correct.
If the vendor is trusting you and is open to you, they're going to
Correct.
disclose this information to
Absolutely.
you. Then you'll relay that back to the buyer as
Correct.
well. So being a buyer's advocate, they can also search out this information as well. So
Correct.
as long as everyone's trusting each other and everyone's
Correct.
on the same page,
Yes.
it's a very smooth transaction.
Ad description in a real estate ad is super important.
Yeah.
If you think that something is not working, don't have it as a part of the marketing.
Yeah.
Don't have it part of the marketing.
No.
Or at least if you don't include it in the description. If
Yeah.
you have something coming up in the photographs, you make sure you explain that to the purchaser. There was a recent case on, if you want, people can go on Osley's website and see all the reference cases, or there's a lot of landmark outcomes that you can see on similar scenarios where you can actually see the learning curves. Of course, there's a lengthy reading that you have to do, but then if you look at the facts, reasoning with the courts as well is really critical to understand.
Yeah.
Sometimes on a situational base, the court would actually give the matter, the outcome in favor of the vendor or the agent, or sometimes in a situation where, but common theme I've seen is that in the situation where the moment the agent has disclosed that spa is there, it can come with the property, you have to repair it at your own cost. It is repairable or it's not operable. It doesn't come with the house. If you want, we can leave it. That's a different. That's a conversation that they should have with the purchaser. And during the deal, at some point, there should be some written communication, as the purchaser must be aware.
100% back you on that, but it's
Yeah.
also it's not just the agent's responsibility as well to do
Yeah.
that. You're kind of the verbal communication of when you have a
Correct.
buyer walk in, just to let you know, guys, the spa's not working.
Correct.
Based on negotiations, we can determine what the vendor we're going to do.
Exactly.
It's also up to the conveyancer, the vendor, to advise the conveyancer of something not working,
Yes.
so that when that client came to me, I said, okay, that's fine.
Yes.
If you intend on, or not fixing the spa. Let
Correct.
me know. We'll say that the spa is not in working condition and that buyer
Exactly.
agrees that when they do purchase this property, it's not going to be in working condition.
Correct.
If you disclose that from the very start, it will
Absolutely.
avoid that doubt with the purchaser.
Exactly.
But again, we always have to then rely on what the vendor is telling us. If the
Absolutely.
vendor's upfront and honest,
Yes.
then there won't be any problem at all.
100%.
You know what I mean? So I think that's very important as well.
Absolutely. And I think now we're touching on material facts. Let's talk more about what other things that you feel are important in let's say Point Cook. What do you normally see? Because it's a different market.
Yeah.
It's different housing.
Yeah.
Type of houses here.
Yeah.
It's different to what some other suburbs have, where you have to have more material facts. Do you feel that there's much difference in Point Cook and some of the suburbs?
Yeah, I think so. Look, if I talk more on Point Cook, as you mentioned, you're probably not going to find a nicer home or a big double story home for minimum 900 up
Correct.
to over $1 million.
Yes.
And those type of properties are not going to be a stock standard home.
Correct.
So you're going to have fireplaces, you're going to have pools, spas, saunas,
Correct.
whatever it may be. You're going to have a bit of
Absolutely.
luxuriness in that house.
Yes.
And what I've noticed is potential agents who are not educated, or also vendors who are not educated as well, that we have to specifically define what is included in the sale and what's
Yes,
not.
correct.
We had a client where he had kind of like a bookshelf on the wall. It was built into that wall.
Right.
And he made it himself. He had an attachment to this bookshelf and he wanted to take it with him. And this specific buyer that came along, she had an office job, industry. She worked and she had clients coming in. So she loved the look of it.
Gotcha.
She did the final inspection and the bookshelf was gone.
Yeah, wow.
Now, if the vendor clearly determined at the time of sale that was not included in the sale, then it wouldn't avoid doubt. The agent wouldn't have got the blame. The conveyancer wouldn't have got the blame because he would have formally disclosed it.
Yes.
It's common sense. Fixture and fittings of permanent nature are included with the sale.
Yeah.
Comes with the home.
Yeah.
But again, what do you define as a fitting? What do you define as a fixture?
Correct.
Fittings can be removed. How are they always a part of the sale?
Absolutely.
It's a very open condition.
Yeah.
So we always say to the vendors, and a lot in our disclosure reports, give us as much information as you can. If you're not sure about a frame, whatever it may be, ask and we'll tell you, okay, let's put it. The more information you put in your contract, the better.
Exactly.
It avoids any problems occurring from the transaction. Yeah.
What about dishwashers?
Look, when I think of, this is the way I explain it to my clients. When we say all appliances in working condition or sold with the property. When you build a house, your builder is most likely going to give you appliances. Your appliance will be your range hood, your cooktop, your oven, your dishwasher.
Yes.
Potentially a dishwasher.
Yeah.
Not really a dishwasher. It could be an upgrade.
Correct.
Okay? So in my opinion, I wouldn't say that an appliance has to be a dishwasher.
Yeah, gotcha.
You can potentially remove it. But common sense on a humane level,
yes,
the buyers are going to think that dishwasher is attached to the property.
Correct.
So if you are planning on taking the dishwasher, put it in your contract.
In the contract.
So
exactly.
It's such an open condition, and unfortunately the law does not regulate correctly on what someone can leave and what someone can't.
Exactly.
It's all about being humane. When a property goes into dispute, goes to VCAT, goes to court, the court makes up the decision on a humane basis.
Correct.
Either by legislation
Reasonable.
or reasonable humane basis. So
Correct.
if you're unreasonable,
Yeah.
the court's not going to favour you.
Correct.
And that's the thing, like you can pay lawyers thousands and thousands of dollars.
Correct.
They will agree with me that the court works on a
Yes.
reasonable and a humane basis.
Correct.
So be upfront and honest, put as much information as possible in your
Absolutely.
contracts. You're not going to have that problem.
Super important.
I had another client come in where they had really nice blinds and curtains on the property. And it was a blind that they had made themselves. So those ones where it goes on the rod and it can be hooked off.
Okay.
The vendors took it.
Okay.
Okay. So again, people are going to think blinds are sold with the property, which normality wise, yes they are. But this vendor had took it. So in this case, we're working in best interest of the purchaser.
Okay.
So we went back and we said, look, it should have been disclosed in there. They're saying, we said it's a fixture or fitting.
Yeah.
They come back saying, no, it's not. It works on negotiation. What then happened was they compensated a certain amount for that. So it's all a part of negotiation. But again, if you were honest, I don't want to sell it, then put it in your contract.
Yes.
Excluded from
Correct.
sale. It could be a whole list. We can put a chattels list in there.
Yeah.
And we could remove all of the chattels that you may not want.
I think it's really tricky sometimes where it's just making that experience really sour for everyone.
Yeah, yeah.
So I suppose when you sell a home, my personal advice to every seller is that you do the right thing and also be the purchaser, be a bit reasonable as well at the same
of
time,
course.
because things may not be the same as your expectation, because a lot of the times where you expect And again, it's all about communication. Professional cleaning or reasonable cleaning is another thing that we talk about as well.
That is another craze. Again, it works on a humane.
Exactly.
And we're touching on how conveyancers will transact. And it's a very smart conveyancer will say, look,
Correct.
if as long as the invoice is there, professional. Oh, but there's no carpet cleaning. Your condition does not state that there's carpet. The professional
Correct.
cleaning can mean so many things, whether it's cleaning the windows, steam cleaning,
Correct.
cleaning the staircase, whatever it may be. It's
Correct.
so broad.
Exactly.
If you want the carpet steam cleaned at the time of you inspecting and you're saying, I'm not happy with the way these carpets
Absolutely.
look, then put it in your contract.
Correct.
My offer is subject to the vendor steam cleaning the carpets.
Yeah.
Cleaning
Clean the
whatever it
stairs,
may be.
doors,
Cleaning
walls,
the stairs.
kitchen,
Make
bathroom,
it so
showers.
specific so that we can't. And the issue that we're facing is, as a conveyancer, we only come in the transaction after the contract is signed.
Correct.
Or after the cooling off period has expired.
Correct.
We can't do anything through the transaction.
Absolutely.
You know, or prior to the offer.
Exactly.
So be quite specific, but this is also the reason why you should be educated in the market as well.
Correct. And I think, and again, at the same time, buyer be aware when you put in, I would be, if I've got two offers, and I've got an offer where subject to cleaning the stairs, subject to cleaning the dishwasher, subject
No
to
vendor's
cleaning
going to accept
appliances,
that.
subject
I'm
to cleaning the
selling.
shower.
I'm selling.
Yeah.
Why am I going to put such a heavy
Absolutely.
condition in there?
I'll
you
be
know?
running. I'll be running.
Yeah. So be reasonable. A vendor's
Correct.
probably not going to accept your offer. You're going to put so many list of conditions in
Correct.
there. But also then just summarising anyone. Get a professional clean. When everyone moves into a house, of course you're going to clean
Absolutely.
it. You're never going to move in and put your furniture and say done.
Absolutely.
I'm going to vacuum. I'm going to mop, whatever it may be.
Correct.
You know, wash the walls, whatever it may be.
Absolutely.
I'm going to do that anyways.
Absolutely.
So be humane. The property industry is not, yes, we're all licensed to do certain
Correct.
things, buy and sell, convey, whatever it may be, but we're also understanding on a humane level
Absolutely.
as well.
And with the purchases, I suppose what's reasonable, what's practical is also critical.
Yeah.
Yes, you're purchasing the property does not mean the purchaser is entitled to what they expect. Expectation, and again, that's where we also implement a lot of different processes in our business to make sure that we streamline the process and make sure the buyers get as good experience as we possibly can provide. At the same time, we always educate the purchaser to start with.
100%.
That is super important.
Yeah.
When you sit down, you get an offer gets accepted. We've got video tutorials for our purchasers now, where we send them a series of playlists. This is what's going to happen. This is what's going to happen next.
Yeah.
This is what's going to happen. Please organize this by this date. Please organize this by
Yeah.
this time.
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, if you're educating them, you're telling them this is what exactly needs to be done,
Yeah.
less chances for a friction between the vendor and the
100%.
purchaser.
In the defense of a buyer, and this happens a lot, and this is why I want to say it. Defense of a buyer. Buyers walk in at the time of signing contract, and the client goes, the alarm's not working.
Yeah.
Agent goes, don't worry about it. I'll get the vendor to fix it prior
Yeah,
to
gotcha.
settlement. The buyer's going to trust you.
Correct.
And then we get to final inspection.
Yes.
And it hasn't been done.
Correct.
So all the advice I can give to the buyers is speak to your conveyancer more.
Correct.
Don't just speak to conveyancer after contract is signed. Say, hey, look, they've said that the alarm's not working. Get everything in writing.
Correct.
If the agent had put that in writing, that the vendor was going to fix it prior to
Correct.
final inspection, I can call out the agent on that.
Exactly.
And it happens quite often.
Oh, many times.
Happens very, very
Yeah.
often. And in the buyer's defense, it can be quite difficult.
Correct.
They, and the buyers feel stressed. They then feel, untrustworthy by the agent because of what's happening. So all I can advise is get everything in writing.
Yeah.
Writing is key. Writing is what we can enforce. We can't
Correct.
enforce verbal communication.
Exactly.
I think people need to start interacting with their conveyancer a lot more.
Absolutely. You know what happens is then sometimes
Yeah.
it's hard to reset the code.
Yeah.
You see that?
Yeah.
Two of them.
Yeah.
We had to install a new one.
It's
Huh?
true. It's very
So
true.
We
Yeah.
couldn't reset it.
Yeah.
So it had to be a new
alarms.
one.
I think alarms and security cameras
Correct.
are most ones that they say it's not working, and unfortunately,
Correct.
it's just
It's so hard. Sometimes the technician comes out and they can't reset it,
Yeah.
and they'll sell you a new package.
yeah.
And again, and that's probably right for that
Yeah.
situation, and that happened to us
Yeah.
many times as well.
Yeah.
And I personally go and trust. If I've hired someone, I trust that person,
Yeah, 100%.
and I'll go with their advice, and I try to not put in my
100%.
expectations. If that person is saying what they know what they're saying, go with them.
Yeah.
And I think communication, explaining
Yeah.
the person involved in the transaction is super important.
Yeah, I think communication is your number one priority.
It's critical. It's
Yeah,
critical.
absolutely.
Yeah.